London is a wonderful place and there's much to see and do. But here are 10 quirky things in London you might have missed. Number 1. Trafalgar Square artefacts. Everybody knows Trafalgar Square. Its name commemorating victory over the French and Spanish in a naval battle off Cape Trafalgar in 1805. But there's more to see than meets the eye initially. Make your way over the pedestrian crossings into the square and look at the green man symbol on the crossing lights. These were replaced with LGBT symbols in 2016 to celebrate London Pride, and they've been there ever since. Though controversial, they were not meant to be permanent, but they seem to be here to stay for the foreseeable future, and are a rather fun and thought-provoking addition to the square. Walk over to the north wall of the square, below the National Gallery, to where the restaurant and toilets are, and you will find another interesting artefact. This is one of 3 copies of standard units of measurement of length, created and installed in the square in 1876. One other can be seen at Greenwich Observatory. This allowed everyone to check the accuracy of his or her measuring device against these standard lengths. The story behind how and why these were needed to be created in the first place is a fascinating and complex one in which Charles Dickens played a part and is well worth looking up. It's worth noting that when the square was remodelled in 2003, these were moved to their current location. They no longer serve a purpose as the UK has formally adopted the metric system, but the length of one chain is important still, as it marks lengths along railways in the UK, and many imperial units are derived from the chain too. For example, there are 10 chains in a furlong, 80 chains in a mile, and an acre is 10 square chains. Just off the square, on an island of its own, is a statue of King Charles I on horseback. This was the site of one of the Eleanor crosses, known as Charing Cross, marking a place where her funeral cortege stopped on its way to Westminster Abbey. Look in the pavement below to see a small plaque explaining this. And what is also of interest is that it marks the point from which all road distances from London are measured. Number 2. Admiralty Arch Nose. High up on one of the arches is a very strange object, and one that many people will miss: a small brass nose. Placed there secretly, along with others elsewhere in London, by the artist Rick Buckley in 1997 as a form of protest against CCTV surveillance and the development of Big Brother society. It's said that it's easy to give it a rub as you pass by on horseback for luck. Something I've yet to try. Number 3. Giro the dog. Not far from Admiralty Arch at Carlton House Terrace is a statue of the Duke of York atop a 124-foot column, which is impressive in itself. However, just inside the fence of the garden opposite is a small grave inscribed in German to Giro the dog. The dog in question belonged to Leopold von Hirsch and was brought to London when he was German ambassador in the 1930s. Giro sadly died of electrocution and was buried in the garden. After the Enabling Act, von Hirsch would have represented the Third Reich, and so Giro has become known as the Nazi dog, which is rather unfair both to Giro and von Hirsch alike. It still makes an interesting place to visit and reflect for a few moments on what might have been. Number 4. Imperial Camel Corps Memorial. Victoria Embankment Gardens is a beautiful green space enjoyed by humans and pigeons alike. But it's here you'll find a camel, though not quite life-size. A bronze statue sitting on top of a Portland stone pedestal commemorates the brave men, though not the camels, of the Imperial Camel Corps. Along with the names of the men that lost their lives, an inscription reads, "To the glorious and immortal memory of the officers, NCOs and men of the Imperial Camel Corps, British, Australian, New Zealand, Indian, who fell in action or died of wounds and disease in Egypt, Sinai and Palestine, 1916, 1917, 1918. If you stand in the right place, you can see both the memorial and Cleopatra's Needle, presented to the United Kingdom in 1819 by Muhammad Ali, the ruler of Egypt and Sudan at that time. The story behind the needle is also fascinating and well worth researching. Number 5. Billingsgate Market, Traffic Light Tree. If you like public art, then head off to Billingsgate Market to see the amazing traffic light tree. Created by French artist Pierre Vivant and initially sited in Canary Wharf, it now stands in the centre of a traffic island at the entrance to Billingsgate Fish Market. A strange location, considering it's nothing to do whatsoever with fish. This huge 8-metre tall sculpture is made of over 50 traffic lights clustered together, displaying a changing sequence of lights, enough to greatly confuse the passing motorist. You can see this from the DLR as you go from Poplar to Blackwall, especially at night. But why not get off at Blackwall, and it's an easy walk using the pedestrianised underpass to get to it. It's just fun and it'll make you laugh. Number 6. Poplar Dock Marina and Cranes. Just a short walk from the traffic light tree is the lovely Poplar Dock Marina, which is closer to the Blackwell DLR stop than the Poplar one. This is a really pleasant place just to rest a while, watch the geese, or the moorhens building their nests together. Built in 1828 by the West India Dock Company as a series of reservoirs, it later became a railway dock and was in the possession of British Rail right up until the early 1980s. The Queen reopened the dock as a marina in 1999. It's worth having a look at the bright red dockside cranes, which give the amateur photographer a great opportunity to experiment with colour and the reflections that form in the water. Number 7. London's protected views, sightlines. You'll not have failed to notice that London is going vertical. St Paul's Cathedral, once by far and away the tallest building in London, is now dwarfed by high-rise developments surrounding it. No longer are the buildings built to a height no greater than a fireman's ladder. To stop the views of the cathedral being lost, planning regulations were amended to give clear views of the cathedral from a number of key points in London. One of them is from the top of Primrose Hill, and it's well worth making the short but steep walk to the viewpoint at the top to look across London and to see the clear sightline that's been retained all the way to St Paul's. The retention of these protected views is controversial, as it limits development, so they may not exist in the future, but they're worth looking up and going out on foot to explore. Number 8. The Faraday Memorial. Just outside the Elephant and Castle tube station, on a large bend in the road, is a strange stainless steel box, which appears to be suspended from some huge black girders. This hides a London Underground electrical substation. Designed by Rodney Gordon and built surprisingly long ago in 1961, it commemorates Michael Faraday, a pioneer of electricity who was born nearby. Unfortunately, its design was never fully realised, so its purpose is not too clear to the passer-by. Thankfully, there's an interpretation panel that gives more information about the memorial and the life and work of both Faraday and Gordon. Though those that might know may argue that it contains more of Tesla's inventions than Faraday's, there's no question of the outstanding contributions to the understanding and use of electricity that were made by Faraday during his lifetime. And so it's a fitting memorial to this great man. Perhaps it's a kind of Faraday cage, or this interpretation may be wholly coincidental. Number 9. London's largest bra. Want to see the largest bra in London and possibly the UK? Then head off to the O2 Arena, and outside it you'll find a display of large items of clothing fashioned in metal entitled Tools of Endearment, each said to weigh over 1/10 of a tonne. The bra is accompanied by a giant stiletto-heeled shoe and a corset. Created by Greek-born London artist Calliope Lemos, they're said to challenge female stereotypes and gender power wars. They provoke both serious thought and bring a smile to your face. Linger for as long as embarrassment allows you to. Number 10. T-34 tank, Stompy. This is one of my favourite things to go and find in London. Take the tube to Elephant and Castle and either get on a Boris bike or walk to a small patch of land wedged between Page's Walk and Mandela Way, and you'll find Stompy, a Russian T-34 tank allegedly used in the fighting of the Prague Spring in 1968. The subject of many an urban myth, the story goes that local property developer Russell Gray bought the tank as a present for his son and parked it there as a protest after having a planning application refused by Southwark Council. Supposedly, the barrel points towards the council building, though the barrel has changed position over the years to be more forward-facing now. It's been painted by a number of artists as well as graffiti artists, so its colour has frequently changed. The tank is nicknamed Stompy as a reference to a 14-year-old boy, Stompy Moketsi, accused of being a police informer who was killed by Winnie Mandela's security team in 1989. The fact that the tank sits at the side of Mandela Way makes the reference even more poignant. It's become a local icon as well as an important peace symbol. Stompy, the T-34 Russian tank, an unusual object with an interesting history. So, London is a wonderful place to visit with so much to see. I hope you've learnt a bit more about the unusual things out there to find, and you feel inspired to track some of them down. Let me know in the comments below how you get on. More Quirky London videos to come. Enjoy your exploring, and most of all, enjoy this great city.